So what we're doing basically these days is we are trying to identify opportunities. So look at basically the stocks that gap up and see which ones faded, why they faded, and we look at it from dilution, technical perspective, or why did it fade, China theme, oil theme, whatever. We're looking at past opportunities, see if we can all of us can put our brain together and try to just spit out some reasons. And then also intraday stocks that had the biggest range. Because at the end of the day, it is my belief, and I think you probably may agree with this. Our goal is just to find stocks that see if we can anticipate range. If you can anticipate range and you have risk management, I think you'll do well. Our whole goal. So yeah, these are the things that I'm using. 60% gap. I click the return. Pull up some notes on this. Martin, Abel, feel free to speak your mind if you guys notice anything. So GHV China name. It seems like push wash off the open. If anything sticks out, please speak your mind. So push 60. What's the gap? The gap is 60. Pushes fades. Really nice fade, 15%.
Yeah, this was a big opportunity on Friday, I think. GVH, I missed it. But they had I think, some cashless warrants or some very low
High
price.
spike 18. ECDA. This is a good one too. So this just faded right off. A lot of these are.
You can, there's a setting in WhatsApp. I mean, if you close WhatsApp,
Yeah, I don't have WhatsApp open. It's okay.
a setting is a setting that even if you don't have it open, you get the notifications on the computer. So you have to change that setting.
Okay, this is surprising. I think so. We had some really good opportunity faders. Everything is barely pushing. It's like pushing 8%. It's just 9%, and fading 50, 60%. I guess it's a bit
Well,
biased.
I thought about NA. Dude, this was like fucking slam dunk short. I missed it because I didn't realize until later. Did you guys see CZ's tweet on it?
No, who's CZ?
Oh,
He's the guy. He's the guy with Binance.
Oh,
So what happened? What happened basically is he tweeted at 7 a.m. Hey, we appreciate the support. You guys are buying our coin. You know, and the moment he did that, but then he also said, "We're not involved though, but thanks for the support." And then so the moment he said that, it spiked from like 16 to 30 to over 30, but it actually was a negative tweet because he said he's not involved in it. So that was like an easy short. I was pissed I missed it because I didn't really understand what was going on. But you could see it went up because of his tweet because he has like 10 million followers, and so that was like basically a great short.
Yeah, this is a liquidity event.
Yeah, I mean that is one that you could have made a lot of money if you shorted in size. But I was a little scared of it because it looked to me like a scheme. I was like thinking, why is it up so much? It doesn't make any sense. But I learned after it was all just because of that tweet.
I mean, if there's no dilution, I think in GCTK, CYM.
But wasn't there dilution with NA? No,
I don't see a
there was.
dilution.
They
was.
they brought out some 425 B5 forms a few days later, some dilution forms. So they probably diluted on this day.
They have warrants at 646.
Oh, they dumped. They did a registered direct offering on.
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
2 days later. Man, this shit is so nasty. I swear to God, they short it and then they participate in the offering. Now, I don't want to say it's disgusting. Like they short. Oh my God, bro! Look at this nasty thing. So the average, hypothetically, was like 25, and they bought the offering at $50 million at 8. So they just made like 70% of their money, and they gave them 50 million. So they were
like CYN.
I swear to God, sometimes I get disturbed, bro. It's like we work our butt off, and these guys, they probably had like $100 million short on, and they gave them 50 mil, and they made 70% of their money. This is
Should have
really
started an investment bank, not a prop firm.
I think I told you guys this, but I tried. Due to unethical reasons, I stepped away. We were gonna transition into that, but we're transitioning as a quant fund. Yeah, it's very lucrative. It's just unethical. I'd rather die happy, or the perception of happiness. Okay, so PSTV. Are you guys noticing any pattern, any type of way, or and they're just? It seems like it was a good week for stocks to fade. So in theory, we should have made a lot of money. What have you noticed?
CYN had the biggest spike of all from the highs, from the open, the biggest run from the open.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think they were faders, but the pushes at the open were
Let's look at
difficult to catch the offering.
Yeah, bro, the offering these days has been so hard.
I
They
have the
just-
feeling that every time there is some offering play, if it's too easy to see, you need to think where where is the worst place to, how to say, like where is the worst place that they drop an offering for me. So that's the place where I should short because it's where they will do it. You know what I mean?
But there's no way you could predict us in bush up here and then be like an offering's
Yeah.
coming. No, I think the only. So one thing I have noticed is they squeeze and then they do an offering on APVO,
Yeah.
on CYN and stuff like that.
KTTA.
Yeah, but I don't think
They
the
did
right
it near
move.
the top. That's unusual. They did it near the top. Usually they fade off quite a bit and then they do the offering intraday. But APVO last week and CYN this week
Yeah, I think.
squeezed everyone out and then they dropped the offering near the highs.
Yeah, so I think
Was
the
interesting.
offering was announced here somewhere, so maybe you could have participated in here. But I think you could always the backside. Like this had so much meat on the backside. I got a bit too aggressive because I think I filled my misses in here. I think this, so. This is really good. It's like near gap fill. You could risk like 30. But the one thing that we can take away, I think you guys all have the option to participate in the auction. If you get like as crazy as that sounds, even the CYN down here, and this is really far away, but you could still participate at the auction in position size versus like 36. You can put a limit. Change the TIF unless it's Amex or something, and then you change the route. Okay. So it was a good week. That kind of is a bit scary in my books, I guess. This is interesting. This says other things. Okay, so this
There
is
were
what
a
we
lot
see.
of
Yeah,
at
so
the
it
end of
says
the day.
week 23, 24, there was a lot of reclaims, and then we had weaker fade in here. So I think looking at this weekly, this is fully good. Like if something like this happens, the next week is good. Or on monthly basis, this is good. Like this is a beautiful December after, you could put on some heavier risk. So I think that we may get some, there's a chance it could go up to be like this because of reclaims in the past 2 weeks. Or there's a chance that one this week was a good fader, as we can see based on this. Everything we summarized. Any 2 cents on the 60% gappers and variable, or any pattern behavior that stuck to you guys? Adam, anything comes to your mind?
No, just the one that I mean. That was the one that kind of stood out.
So if you saw it again, what would you? How could you? Without hindsight, how would you be able to define it? Like how could you catch that again?
What you want to see what it does 10 minutes before the open, between like 9 and 9:30. You know, take a look at in a right before the open. Did it fall into the open? Yeah, take a look. No, it looks like it actually from 9 to 9:30 it fell a little bit, not much. But it fell a good amount though, I guess. It felt like about 10%, right? From 9 to 9:30. So I think that's a sign that it's a short.
It consolidated sideways near the top, I would say, near pre-market highs.
I mean, the other
But
thing is,
it still fell into the open though.
Yeah.
I mean, the stock is 165% up. This would have been a good short. Yeah, I think basically the motto that my personal takeaway, given that we've been having easy fades right off the open, put a 0.5 hour risk on a stock. I take back what I said. Honestly, my takeaway is gonna either blow up the shorts off the open or fade off. So, anything, Martin, you would add, or Abel? Martin, anything you would add?
No, it's all good.
Now we're just gonna quickly go over the ranges.
Intraday runners, you mean?
Yeah. It's gappers plus intraday runners. 52 stocks. GHE we talked about. You guys know what happened here? Anything from dilution perspective? Oh,
Which stock is this?
this
Ah,
is
this
the.
was
I know this one.
Friday.
Offering. This is the
Biotech
offering.
stock.
This is
Where does it say? I don't see. Where does it say the ticker? What?
INMB.
INMB.
Right here.
From Friday.
Oh,
So-
down there. Okay.
So Martin Shkreli's short the stock. He was short the stock, and I think with like a 6 average or something, 550, and he got hella squeezed. They're announcing. So this company, I can give you guys a quick little summary. They're announcing the data point on Monday. Martin's saying it's going to go down to like 50 cents.
Couldn't they spin the data to make it look good even though it isn't?
So, exactly. So this is what happened. It's a very interesting perspective. For us, it's not interesting because this happens to in small caps often. The data's coming out, but they did a $50 million registered direct offering, I think, and right before the data,
Isn't that illegal?
18, 19
Yeah,
million.
this is what
Or-
Martin Shkreli also said, that to do this one day before the data drops should this probably be illegal.
Because they have information that most
Yeah.
people don't.
Well, I don't
Doesn't make
think
any sense.
so. I don't think it has. I don't know. Not from a legal perspective. From a trading perspective, I could see some fund, like, we talk about all these dilution guys. So I think the offering amount was 18. So they probably just put on 30, and they're like, hey, yeah, we'll buy it at $6.30. That's what the price was. So you automatically, if they have, so this is illegal for sure. But so if they have like a $30 million, $40 million short on, and they're instantly getting 50% on the half thing, if it bounces, then they cover. If it doesn't bounce, it goes down. It's a win-win from that
Well,
aspect.
that's illegal too. You can't.
Yes,
you
it
can't
is illegal.
short ahead of an offering. I mean, that seems like that'd be easy to catch too.
Yeah, well, this stuff like this happens very often, right? Like the freaking NAs, what we talked about. It went from top to the bottom, and then 2 days later they had that exact same thing, registered direct offering, and this is like the same week. Actually, frick, it's right up here. It's the like one above. So in this, I think there is. I gotta see what the short interest is, but it is heavily shorted. I think the stock will definitely have a reaction. So this is something we can kind of watch for tomorrow for something that will. Wait, I'm surprised, Adam. Aren't you in biotech? You didn't follow up stuff on this, the study, and this is like an
Well, I
Alzheimer's
actually
drug.
shorted some, but I got squeezed when it went up. So I kind of stopped out, but then I reshorted again once they did the offer.
Okay.
Well, I have been following this. I have been following it, but I'm just concerned that it'll spin the data and put out something.
Wait,
Yeah.
you have been
No.
following it, or you
Good.
have not? Okay.
Not
And did-
not like that closely. I'm aware of the stock and I'm aware of the data coming out, but I'm worried because like Saba had like over $1 billion market cap for a long time, and that was a total scam.
Yeah.
So I think they could.
Yeah, it'd be fun. We'll just have to risk manage it. But it will have range, right? We can anticipate.
Yeah.
SRFM, trickier. This is Adnan. Adnan probably loved this. This an offering as well?
Yeah, on the 25th, what day is that? Yeah,
25th, yeah.
they're offering 27 million RDO.
Yeah, on the same day.
That's a big offering.
Yeah, that's
250.
fun stuff. So we're seeing some midday offerings, GIBO, I don't even know what that is. Pre-market 15 mil. During the market, we're only traded 13 mil. Got no attention that day. Let's look at the other side. If things are gonna push potentially, I guess the fade for midday runner, which I don't play, is Ben would long this breakout in here. I'm just watching for if there was a long setup like Travis. This is my favorite long setup.
When you get the chance, because you look at AMI.
Did it have a,
That one's kind of interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, because they put out data. I mean they put out news and I remember it was patent news. So at 8 a.m. they put out patent news. Now what happened with it from 8 a.m.? When did it start moving up?
the volume picked up at 1:32 p.m.
That's interesting. Why what's the delay? Because the news came out at 8 a.m.
But you said it was bad news, right?
No, good news. It was yeah. I mean, for some reason it didn't really move much at 8 a.m. until 1:30. So I don't know what the deal was with this, but I got a nice short at the end of the day. I actually swung it.
I was just gonna say, I think first it's really low market cap. Number two, they're very low in cash. They only have like 10
Yeah,
minutes of
and they-
cash.
They have an ATM.
Yeah, because their burn rate is like. Anything else on it, Adam?
Well, I guess one risk in it is it's kind of 2.5 million, so I was kind of cautious. But for me, I like to short patent news. Like I think pretty weak news,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was able to get in at a pretty good price. Like I didn't even see it until like later good price, and then when it popped at the end of the day, I shorted more at like 2.
So did you enter here somewhere? Were your first entries, or where did you?
My first entry was that first pop to $2. Yeah, around 3 o'clock there. And then when it came down, I covered a little bit. I covered like half, and then went up a second time when it ripped up there. Then I shorted more, and then I covered some in the after. But one thing you want to look at this though. What's kind of interesting about it? You looking at it from at 3 o'clock, you think that level at 245 was the high. You think like $2 was the high. But then it blew right, it came down and then it blew right past that. So is there any way to like tell like when is the how do you know when the high is going to be?
So for me, if this price action, Adam, like if it had a lot of, like if the $2 was here, if the resistance or the high was 2, and then it goes sideways and then it clears out into this $2, like let's say at the opening price range was 2 and it clears that out, that's when I personally get very aggressive in terms of putting on risk. Not only because you have a good risk reward, but because they don't have a lot of time to mess around. Like this is a liquidity grab. Whereas this price action, in my books, it's not as concrete that this is going to be relatively top. Because this.
You're saying that if it's 2 in the
this is my.
I thought you meant.
So let's say this is 930 candle. So I'm just going to draw the price action and it goes. This is the price action off the open. And let's just say I messed it up. Let's say this is the price action. This is 2. And then it does this $2.80 or $2.18 clear out and then washes. And this is around 2 o'clock. Then I would consider this to be a higher probability of being. Because in order for it to make new high, it needs a lot of more volume. Like if there were shorts involved in here, like this is the $2, then it would have squeezed higher, right? It's all about, in my head, it's like supply and demand. If nobody's buying it above 2, and then it rejected already, for them to push it above 2 and keep going, given the float is really low and given how much volume that it's doing, the odds are low. Am I making sense?
Yes, you're saying it's because that was the open.
Yeah, in my books, yeah. And the reason for that logic is because it takes the amount of dollar that it takes to push it back up. It's going to be quite a bit, and you have to bag hold. Like unless you have the whole, like if you have the whole float in and the volume dries up, for you to exit, you would need you need somebody else to be a buyer, right? If the volume dries up like this, you're screwed. Like somebody could be been shorting it because it was bad news. They thought it's bad news. So maybe somebody with the lower volume and then they got caught. Because the float is so low and it's already trading that much volume, then it would be. Make sense or no?
Yeah, it was pretty big volume. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it was. That's what I'm saying. I was a little bit concerned because the float was. I mean, do you guys think this is too risky to short? It's worth it on stupid news.
Honestly, bro, for me personally, I think if you do this 100,000 times, like what are you risking when you're shorting? That's one of the questions that I was going to ask. Like
what I was doing is just my strategy was just like that's why I'm swinging it to Monday, but like there didn't seem to be anything that indicated, but it seemed like it was just.
But it could be a short squeeze. But what's your risk at 2? How do you answer that question? Shorting at 2.
My risk would be I would probably just hold it overnight. And I mean, if it goes higher than 2, I would just hold it overnight. If it goes to higher tomorrow morning, I would get out of it. Like I'm going to cover in the pre-market tomorrow.
If it goes to $6.
Oh, I'm getting out before that. I mean, are you sure you're saying if it goes to $6 the same day?
Yeah, sure. After hour, if it goes instead of so if it consolidated here, and then it pushed here, like you have to have some sort of risk, right? Like what's your risk? Because in shorting in here, I don't think it's a high because there's nothing you can risk against. There's no intraday price action unless it's a very small size.
It popped up. That was look at how fast it went up. And so then it came down a bit, but then it made new highs after that, which I was kind of surprised. But I try to short when it spikes up compared to like stair step.
Right. But what is your risk in here?
My risk for short, it would probably be like, I think I would have to see where it goes but if it keeps going higher and higher.
Yeah, and I think
it goes to like $4 or $5. I would say like over $3 might be my stuff.
So for me, before I enter, I always have to position size calculate. Because ideally we want trading to be boring, right? You want to preemptively calculate that this is the loss that I'm accepting, whether it's 10K, whether it's so when we calculate the position sizing, and also
It makes sense. I usually don't think about that. Maybe I should. I didn't really have a stop in mind for this. I was just gonna kind of feel it
That's-
out, see what happens.
so the thing with that, Adam, is what it in my books, like if you were part of the prop room, we go over everybody grades their setup. You have to be very methodical in setup. You have to know when is it an A plus, when is it an A. And then you also have to position size calculate, because when an opportunity comes out, like the stock on NA, or if it had dilution, or if you know offering, you don't want to risk less than 1 hour. 1 hour is like whatever you're risking. Different grades require different setup. And if this was a C setup and you were struggling with performance, then one thing that we would say is try to cut out your C setups, because because stuff like this, even when it works out, it feeds the aspect that what we're doing is right. Like it feels like, oh, it's a green trade, but taking this exact setup 100,000 times. Okay, let's do this cool little exercise. So on Sunday recap, and then this setup, and then we have the other setup that you mentioned. This setup, Adam, and this setup. Would you assign the same risk in here?
Well,
So-
I think with that one, so if it doesn't fall at the open, make new highs after the open, I think.
No, let's walk this to this thing. So in here,
Okay.
let's say we're risking, for simplicity, we're risking $1,000, where you have intraday price action and the stock has gapped up 167%. There's fundamental reasons to be short if it's anticipating an offering or dilution, or that the guy said that I'm not involved and it's up 160%. Taking this trade 100,000 times versus this 100,000 times, shorting at $2, like not with this, not including this. What was the ticker? CMIX?
AMIX. Well, why don't you think it's a good trade?
We'll walk through it right now. So, like the stop is $3 in here. So it's not about good trade, better, the expected value, like equally. So, okay, setup number one and setup number two. You take 100,000 trades exactly like this, they all have gapped up 164%, and you take 100,000 of these exact same trades, same price action in here versus three. Which one do you think, if you bet $1,000 in every single one, which one would have a
Well,
exact
I
same
would have
news?
to say the NA. Well, just because it faded a little bit ahead of the open. Now if it ended the open, the fact that it fell between 9 and 9:30, that makes it a better trade.
So then, should we bet $1,000 in each risk?
You should bet more money if you have more conviction.
Yeah.
So to me, the more confident I am in a trade, the more money I'll put in. Like some trades, they're like slam dunks. Like you're like 95% sure it'll work, and those ones you want to go huge.
Exactly.
You want to go really big with. But the ones like you're like 70% chance of getting right, that you want to go small on those. So maybe this AMIX is more like, yeah, like maybe 70-80% chance.
So for me, yeah, but also the risk reward. So like if you are right, you're losing, like a stock will never go to zero, as you know, right? So you're risking $1, which is like 50%. From $2 to 3, unless my math is wrong, it's either 33% or 50%. Don't laugh at me, I don't know. But like it's a wide stop. So for this to make sense, for you to get a risk reward of 1-to-1, it has to go down to $1. Look at the price action. Like 1 from 2 has to go to $1, because you're risking $1. You're gonna make $1. In here, even accuracy aside, in here you're risking $4, and because it's gapped up 165%, like this is very feasible. Like the red on the candle was like $14, and you're risking $4, right? So one is accuracy, the other one is risk reward. So in here, in my books, Adam, this is a mistake to risk 1,000 in both. And also another mistake is so I hate to say this, or I love to say it, I don't know. A lot of people come to us when they are in bad mental state, because nobody feels like they want to join a prop firm, and it makes sense. But if somebody's struggling mentally, or even if you're not struggling, how do you improve your performance? You cut this stuff out in my books, unless you have unless you're like, I don't know what real reasoning is, but you have to fine tune it really, really well. To have a loose risk like this and then recycle, it could work. Like But if we were in a bad mental space, I would say that to cut out these wishy-washy things first, because then your confidence will improve if you never take one of these setups. Your mental capital will be sharp, your losers will probably be less, and then when setup like this happens, for instance, you would hypothetically, instead of risking one, you could risk like 3 risk units.
But do you think with AMIX, does it make sense? Like look at from $2, you see how it faded to like, what are the odds that it would make
So-
you high now?
What if I was short? This is my short
Or do you
entry.
look at it, or do you look at it that way? I mean,
To be honest with you, this is what I would have shorted. This is what I would have shorted. Over the years, I've had so much pain at him. And me and you, I've known you for a long time, like maybe 6 years, 8 years, So this is where I would have entered, and this is where I would have stopped out. So I would have let
so
other people.
you would have lost on the trade.
I would have lost in the trade, yeah. And I'm honestly, I'm happy with that. So the second entry, the circle, this is where I would have entered. Why would I have entered here? Because it went above the high, and then people guessed that the top was here. Like they were guessing, because this could have gone to 250, 240, 2 whatever. But then it came back below this level, right? Same concept, and then I would have entered here. So me entering lower than this high, I think has a higher expected value. So, I mean, given that it's a midday runner, I don't like midday runner. Anybody that bought this, you have to basically, like the thesis has to be so strong that all these guys have to give up their long. But if somebody puts a gun to my head and says enter, I would have entered here and risked here. And for me, it defines my risk. That way I don't have to guess where my stop is. I can position size calculate. Like if I know I'm going to risk 1,000, 10,000, whatever it is, I know exactly how many shares I'll take. I'll have less emotions. It will improve my performance. I would have happily stopped
Oh,
out
I
here.
appreciate your feedback. I mean, I guess your style is you have pretty tight stop.
No, I let price action dictate it. One thing over the years, and I know my weakness is not good with emotions. So this is not about tight stop. It's more about me letting other people guess where the top is. I just don't want to do that because the amount of times I've done that, Adam, like my drawdowns were really nasty and I went through a lot of pain and misery, and I've seen a lot of pain and misery. I'm very thankful and happy to say it doesn't come across an egotistical way. It's people guessing the top. So this is my entry valid setup. Like when I entered, this is
Did anybody in your prop firm blow up from the?
Alhamdulillah, no, bro. We are so anal about risk. You would be happy. You could ask the guys. I guess most of the guys. No, we're very risk averse. So everybody has like a 25-hour daily max loss, and we have a ticker max loss, and we have auto liquidate too. Even though it could be frustrating, it's like basically if you hit that loss, it liquidates your position like that. Small consistent gains. Okay, sorry, Adam and Abel. I hope I didn't bore you guys to death.
No, it's good.
No, it was a good discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, man, don't worry.
Abel's not gonna kill me. Yeah, Adam, happy to, if you ever want to talk about it outside, I don't want to take too much. Happy to go into it further if you wanted to.
Okay.
Let's quickly see what other ways. So we were looking at longs. What pattern would it pick up? So below weave up and then picks up. What the heck? Were you guys involved in this? I think I remember some of the guys trading it. George traded this. Martin, were you involved in WFF? Or Abel?
Oh, I missed it. And
This is a good one to go over.
this had a lockup. I found out later this had a lockup expiration. This was probably just an intraday pump and dump.
How would you really predict that move? Yeah.
Reminds me of WhatsApp China name, because this looks like a short. I see a lot of people shorting this in here.
If you go to the 1 minute, I think this had this halted at the top.
But even here was a halt. I guess you have to eat that loss.
Yeah, you would have gotten stopped one or two. The
So-
thing is, what I missed here was the lockup expiration. If I know that there's a lockup, I would be willing to chase even, $3-4 down from the highs.
So this is one of those names where they used to be Singapore, China. This is Malaysian thing. So exactly, it's a lockup play. So maybe we need to be mindful of that. This is a lockup play, Malaysia. So Malaysia, Singapore, some of the tickers that we banned. So if we see another IPO lockup, Martin, tag me. I'll probably play it too.
Yeah.
RCT, 1 o'clock seems to be the top one or two. I'll write down the Singapore. If any other ones come about, the chance. Anything else comes to mind? Anything you want to go in terms of the previous week's range in stocks? I think one.
I'm good for now.
Okay.
Just an hour from that for an hour. Find me.
Perfect. Let's do this thing and then we'll end it. What was like? What are you and we could do the summary from today. What was our takeaway? And then going into the next week, what is like? What are we gonna? Are we gonna adjust a little bit? And what are we gonna adjust? What are we gonna watch? My takeaway today, things are fading off the open. I think it's not gonna be a week where I don't think it's gonna go sideways because the last 2 weeks we had reclaims at the end. So either we'll have continued to fade off the open, or push out the open a little bit and fade, or we will have squeeze, massive squeeze right off the open because the range was contracted. We'll have an expansion in range. So number two, my takeaway was that I know it'll be very difficult. Just have to avoid ticker max loss. But once the risk is clear, I think. What about you, Martin?
I don't have a. We had a very busy week with a lot of opportunities. I mean, I felt that I was quite able to catch them. I mean, you cannot catch everything.
Oh, do you see that? I don't know how you trade. I assume you
Yeah.
missed the short or the long side.
Yeah, shorts, yeah.
Short,
For example, one thing, CRCL, you know, I mean, for us, it's a large cap. I would also like to even though I'm 90% focused on micro caps, but an opportunity like CRCL this week is something, if I want to grow as a trader, I just cannot miss that. Because here you have, I mean, liquidity is not an issue yet for me, but if you grow as a trader, you can trade unlimited size there on a ticker. Like, need to worry with micro caps, with rigged tickers.
So I was actually short CRCL and PLTR. Yeah, my bad, Martin. I should have mentioned the PLTR. PLTR is an interesting one. If you look at
On Friday, right? Did you get that move into close Friday?
yeah, I did. The way I think so, PLTR. My thesis. So I think when there's two things combined, and as I mentioned, I don't want to pull up the chart, but you could see PLTR if you pull it up on daily. Like it makes a new high and then it rejects. So the risk reward, you can risk a $2, $3 mix. The other aspect of PLTR, in my given USA, is there's a possibility that I know it sounds like I'm making these numbers, but I think basically the guidance could be reduced. What they're trying to do is go into the civilian market. So I have a technical on my side, which is like it's making a new high and it's rejecting it. Geopolitical war. Like we know that USA is not going to get involved. Like if Iran had nuclear weapons, they would have used it. Without getting into the political aspect, you have people that are still bullish. The price action is good, but yeah, it is an OG AI company. If a market washes, company like CVNA and CRCL was just a moment.
Yeah. So for me, it's interesting seeing your analysis of the two. You know, I think it makes sense. You know, the first one, and then once the open happened, then it dumped. And we do see that from time to time. It dumps at the open. I still think though it has to fall. You know, between 9 and 9:30 usually. Now the other one, I guess I can kind of see what you're saying. It's kind of, and it's also a low float. You know, so it could have done more stuff. Now I do think though, in my experience, like shorting patent news usually works. But yeah, if it's patent news, I think it has to go up first at least 50%, and that was patent news. It didn't quite go 100%.
Yeah, I agree with you. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then I learned again, like with the CYN, like I took a loss on that. I should have noticed with that. That's the NVIDIA theme keeps popping up, you know, and those stocks can really go nuts there. And plus you know, that was just a bad short. And I think what you want to do also, because they didn't have any dilution until, and that's another sign there too, because if they have like an ATM, ELOC, or like convertible bonds or warrants, then that's more of an indicator of short. But with CYN, you had to wait for the offering to short. That's the thing, like those other stuff I just mentioned, those happen like behind the scenes. So it could be happening, but when a company doesn't have that stuff and they have to do an offer, you have to wait for that to happen before the stock. They had no way of doing any dilution. They did the public offering. So for that situation, you have to wait for the offer.
I actually have an opposite view on that. I remember, without sounding egotistical, I think anticipating offerings and like not knowing, but like the company's low in cash and it's get capped up, like basic 101 stuff. And when I reflected upon my trading, Adam, I found I enjoy the dilution of ATM and warrants much closer, much better than anticipating just offering. The reason being is because, let's say if the company's float or outstanding shares is 5 million, and in the first 30 minutes it has traded 30 million shares, or 100 million or 60 million shares, outstanding shares is 5 million, and then we know that there's ATM dilution warrants, like all of that volume, and then, so it's the volume in conjunction it being red, it kind of gives you a good impression that, hey, you know what? This volume was used to let out that fart or let out whatever it is. The dilution is out, and then the price action is weaker. Like if it's strong and it's green, it's kind of difficult. Big volume, and then sometimes you have a lot of volume, and then after there's no volume, it just fades off. So I find I like that a
You
lot
can
more.
see them using the warrants? You can see them in the price action? That
I
the
think so,
warrants
yeah.
are being used?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool.
And you can do that by, I had probably mentioned it to you. I remember when I was walking down the stairs like 6-8 years ago. The lady that has her eyes closed, where it's like volume forecast, or is the demand and the supply is like the warrants and things like that. Like even if we just visualize company 5 million outstanding shares, I don't know, 50 million in the first 30 minutes, and it's just red candles. It's like a red candle, and it's like weak. Then you know like something is going on. It's either heavily shorted, or that the 5 million outstanding plus like another 20 million, 10 million dilution shares are being kicked in, right? That's a lot cooler than I've always found when I've held offering plays, sometimes even till after hours, because you do so much research.
Cool. Well, I think, let's see, what else did we go over? Yeah, I think that's about good for me.
Sorry, Martin, I think were you done saying something, Martin? Interesting session. I think another takeaway that I'm gonna take away for myself is, I think I need to be more organized and delegate, be more organized or delegate it to other people and have more structure. I think it was okay, but it could have been better structure. You guys agree with that? Or no?
No, I mean, I think you had a good amount of stocks to look over there. I mean, I think maybe we could have looked at more. Maybe we could have looked at more stocks. I think we need to go over more chart.
Martin, anything from your side?
If you wanna keep it under 90 minutes, or let's say 2 hours. I mean, if we probably could talk 6 hours, right? If we would have all the time for it, it's okay. I mean, we just use the 2 hours to go through over some charts and to review the week, and after 90 or 100.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we can have a time-based stop in our conversation, where it's like this market hit. But yeah, okay. Okay, well, I appreciate you guys coming. Thank you for being awesome and consistently coming. Hopefully, I know it is beneficial for me, to be honest.
All right,
Thank
see you
you.
guys in the Discord tomorrow.
Have a wonderful,
thank you.
beautiful
See you.
day. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, guys. Bye-bye.
If you guys made it this far, that means you liked it, you enjoyed it. I hope this was useful, beneficial. Feel free to write in the comments what you want. And also, if you are a trader that has made 7 figures in one point in your career, 7 figures profit, and you want to see if we're a good fit, shoot me a DM and Do Good Capital Twitter handle. If somebody approaches you, just don't get scammed. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. I hope this is useful. Share it with somebody you think that would benefit from it. And thank you very much.